2023. And we will start out with a roll call.
Ms. Weeks?
Here.
Mr. McGinnis?
Here.
Ms. Hunter?
Here.
Mr. Madewell? And Ms. Caldwell?
Here.
And Mr. Maywell is out for personal reasons. Do we have a motion to excuse his absence?
Move to excuse Mr. Madewell's absence tonight.
I'll second that.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to briefly go through our an explanation of what our meeting procedures are this evening. So we will be administering oath to anybody that is speaking, staff members and public who wish to speak on any agenda items tonight. We'll do that shortly. After that, then we'll go through our agenda items, and we will have staff present. We'll have some meeting minutes we need to approve, and then any old business, and then all of our new business, which are our cases this evening. So at that time, then staff will go through each case one at a time, explain them to us. We will have the applicant come forward, give us any additional information they would like to provide, and then we'll open it up to public for any public comments. At that time, we'll close the floor for any additional comments, and the board will have discussions at that point, and we'll go through what's called our findings of facts for each one, and discussing the case, and then come to a determination. So that's basically the gist of it. One moment, I don't have the oath in front of me. All right, one of us is organized. Okay, so anybody wishing to speak this evening, please stand. Raise your right hand while I read this oath. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give to this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, then please say, I do. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's move on to our agenda items. Okay, first on the agenda this evening, we have some minutes to approve from our last meeting on October 2nd, 2023. Do I hear anything from the board on changes or questions or anything we had this evening on that? So, I was fine with all of it. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from October 2nd, 2023?
I'll move to approve the minutes from October 2nd.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, do we need to, what's that?
I'm going to abstain.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Okay, let's do roll call on that one. I
Ms.
apologize.
Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Abstain.
Ms. Hunter?
Yes.
And Ms. Caldwell? Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our new business. Okay, so and I will address, so our first one on tonight is, we are going to skip over, it's variance 2306. We will wait and see if the applicant shows up by the end of the meeting. So, our actual first case we're going to discuss this evening is variance VAR 23-07 for 7151 White Gates Place.
Chair Weeks, I have to recuse myself from this case because I live within 300 feet of the applicant.
Okay, you may be recused. Thank you. Okay, so this case is a request for a variance to section 1121.02.d of the Clayton zoning code, specifically requesting to be permitted to install an automatic pool cover on an in-ground swimming pool instead of the required 5-foot fence with a lockable gate at 7151 White Gates Place. The request was made by Brenda Snyder and Neil Hazel, the property owners, and I'll turn it over to staff.
Thank you, Chairperson Weeks. As you indicated, this is application variance 23-07 for 7151 White Gates Place. The applicant was Brenda Snyder, and this is a swimming pool fence cover variance. The application was received on October 1st. Public notice was put in the local newspaper on October 25th after letters were sent out to all surrounding property owners within 300 feet, which were postmarked on October 18th. Parcel ID is M60-19107-0004. The area of the property in question is approximately 2.036 acres. The property is zoned Suburban Conservation District, otherwise known as SCD. This is the property in question. This is Kimmel Road, right through here. This is White Gates Place that runs off it. The property in question is highlighted. Again, it's slightly over 2 acres. The surrounding land use, or zone, I'm sorry, the surrounding zoning districts, everything on White Gates down through here is the SCD zoning district, Suburban Conservation District. Everything outside of it off Kimmel is RCD1, which is also Rural Conservation District 1. So those are the 2 zoning districts that surround the property in question. As just previously indicated, it is located on the northwest corner of White Gates and Kimmel Road. It is surrounded by single-family homes on large estate-style lots. The applicant and her father, the applicants and their father are building a new house at the property, which will include a in-ground swimming pool. The property in question is 7151 White Gates Place. The applicant has obtained all applicable and required zoning permits and building permits for the new home. They're doing everything per the letter of the law. As part of the new swimming pool in ground, they would like to install a cover over the swimming pool instead of putting a 5-foot gate, a 5-foot fence with a lockable gate around it. That particular requirement is found in section 1121.02.d in the Clayton zoning code, which does require that all swimming pools are required to have a 5-foot fence wall surrounding the swimming pool. The fence wall is also required to have a lockable gate. As previously indicated, the applicant would like to install an automatic pool cover instead of the fence and gate that are required. The application for this particular variance request does state that the pool cover is operated with a personal code with a push button, and the factory specs of the cover state it's able to withstand thousands of pounds of surface weight and meets or exceeds all industry standards. This is the site plan in question. As you can see with the site plan that's on the screen and that was included with your staff packet, it sits approximately 70 feet from the northwest property line, which is technically the side yard, and approximately 200 feet from the southwest property line, which is the rear yard. This is, it's kind of a weird site plan when you look at the aerial view because it's not the same. But White Gates is on the left, Kimmel is down towards the bottom in terms of kind of being familiar with where the property sits. So the staff recommendation, you guys have had these requests before you in the past. It is staff's responsibility to point out that requirement for the fence and the lockable gate is a safety aspect. While increasingly popular as an alternative, automatic pool covers do not guarantee the security of a fence or a lockable gate. People, human error can walk away, the pool remains open, and the access is not restricted as much as if having a fence or a gate. So that's something that we do need to point out from a staff level. That is something that the Board of Zoning Appeals does need to keep in consideration while they're looking at and evaluating this particular application. Again, it's a safety thing. It's to prevent small children or even adults who can't swim that may just wander over for a variety of reasons and that may happen to fall into the swimming pool. With that being said, staff would recommend that if the Board of Zoning Appeals does decide to move forward in granting the variance, that you consider putting as a condition of the approval the requirement that there's a planting and maintaining of a landscape buffer at a minimum height of 4 feet around the general area where the pool is going to be located at. And the reason for this request is to better restrict access to the swimming pool in the event that, the pool is ever left unattended. Despite, all the best of intentions, sometimes you just go in for a snack or you stay in or it starts raining or what have you. There's a variety of factors that play into it. So, and that is the reason for that requirement in the zoning code. So that, that would prevent better restriction to the swimming pool in times of when those scenes may happen. The other aspect of that is that no matter how many times, property owners to come in and they say, listen, we're never going to sell the house, whatever, that property could potentially be sold in the future. And the applicant that stands before you today will no longer be the property owner, and we still have a home with a pool that doesn't have a fence or a gate, and that variety of factors that we can't control. So that's the reason for staff's recommendation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Quick question on the recommendation of the planting, like the landscaping. What kind of landscaping are you thinking? Something more of a screening, already dense so people can't see
Something that'd be a
it?
little bit more dense, and I would ask for some leniency, from a staff's perspective, I would ask for the staff to be able to work with the applicant to come with some sort of agreement, using the zoning code as a reference, using the buffer screening section of the zoning code, that, it is in the zoning code for requirements between different zoning districts sometimes that a landscape buffer can be used in place of a fence. So, as long as we would follow those requirements that were in the screening buffer section of the zoning code, I think that's something staff can work with the applicant on.
Okay, thanks. Just with clarification on that. Other questions from the board for staff?
Yeah, Jack, if you could go back to the, yes, there. Now, the purple is the driveway going into the house?
Correct.
Okay, so that's the driveway going into there, and then behind there is going to be the pool, and the house itself is going to be extending, looks like to the back of the pool, if you will, from the perspective of Kimmel?
So this is on White Gates Place, so the house is providing screening from White Gates for the swimming pool. What staff would say is do some sort of landscape buffer around this area through here.
Okay, I appreciate that. And it is noted in the description that this is artist rendering, but in the final analysis, it'll be 15 feet away from the house. Which
Correct.
We've had that.
But the applicant did state that they would meet that requirement.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Is that, the 70 feet, is that, I just want to make sure, so it says the setback approximately 70 feet from the northwest property line. Which one is that?
It's this one right here.
That one, okay, that's the one I was wondering about. Because it does look like, if you look at the aerial shot, there's a house right back there. Yes, right there,
It's 70 feet from this line right here.
from that line there. Okay, okay. Because that would be my one concern with, it's fairly close to another home right there. Okay, I was curious how far back that was. So that's the 70 feet, is that line? Okay.
I do want to state that we did receive a letter / email from a neighboring surrounding property owner, and they said that they were in favor of the application request.
Okay, that's good to know.
And all neighbors have been notified.
All neighbors have been notified, and we received no letters or emails or phone calls from neighbors saying that they were not in support of the variance.
Okay, great, thank you.
One more question, I guess. Is there an easement along that property anywhere that you know of?
Not that I know of off the top of my head. I'm not aware of any. That doesn't mean it's not there. Absolutely, yes.
Well, hold on,
Well, no. As soon as
we'll
we're
have you
done,
come up
then
in
you
a
then
moment.
you can. Yeah.
Hang on. When staff's done, we'll have you come up.
Okay, I appreciate that, because if there was an easement that went along that line, then of course that might have something to do with the buffering, and, there might be some additional complications is all I'm thinking about there.
Yeah, and from staff's perspective, I mean, we wouldn't require buffering all on through this whole area. It would be back towards the house where there would be no easements.
Right, understand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. Okay, at this time, if the property owner would like to come up and give us additional information. And just, anybody who comes up, please state your name and your address for the record. Thank you.
I'm Brenda Snyder. I will be living at 7151 White Gates Place, probably in the spring. Right now, I live at 2260 Crestridge Drive. One of the reasons I was called that I could even apply for a variance was that the Mr. Williams on Rose Tree Lane has an automatic pool cover without a fence, and that brought this to my attention. So I'm not sure what else you want to know. I have some brochures of what that automatic pool cover is. It is either by a key or a personal code. We haven't actually selected the exact one yet. I have 8 grandchildren that, of course, I love very much and will be very protective of them, and will do my best to be safety conscious of the pool. I've lived with, have had a pool all my life, a private pool that we've had a fence around. People can climb the fence, and mostly because I want to have the safety pool cover anyway. I was trying to eliminate a little bit of expense from the fence, as well as just not having to worry about a gate being opened and left open and closed versus I can be in charge of the automatic pool cover. So I'm not sure what else you'd like to know, but I can answer anything you have questions about.
If the variance were to be granted, would you be open to working with the staff regarding the recommended landscape buffer?
Of course.
And I guess the only other comment that I would have for you would be, you know, and parent, you're aware of, you know, of what's going on with this anyway, especially if you've owned a pool for a number of years.
Yes.
You know, people call them attractive nuisances.
Yes.
You know, and I can appreciate that. I really can. You know, but keeping it closed when it's not in use, I know with my grandchildren, you know, if we had a pool in the backyard, as soon as the back door opens, they're out like a shot,
Yeah.
you know. But with the cover, at least, you're going to be keeping them away
Yes.
from the water
Yes.
until you're ready, you know, with all their toys and everything else to say, okay, now it's time. You get away from this thing because I'm
Right.
going to open it like a garage door,
Right.
you know. And it's a mechanical device. So thinking about it that way, I think you'll be just fine. And yes, keeping it closed, you know, will keep not only neighbors from coming in, kids from coming in, grandchildren when they get older, bringing their friends over, you know, so forth. And not that that would ever happen, of course, but just in case. And then, you know, animals, you know, there's a lot of reasons for these pool covers, and I think they're all pretty good reasons. That's why we've never had any trouble really listening to these type of cases.
good.
However, you know, the code says that a fence is required. Fence is there for safety. Fences can be scaled. You know, we all know that, and we all know that especially with something like this, with it being as attractive as it is, you know, it's your responsibility then as the property owner to protect that and protect, you know, anybody else that may be around there. So,
Yes.
you know, I give you good wishes for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, we don't have anything else right now. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, at this time, would the board like to make a motion to open the floor for public comment?
I so move.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell? Yes.
Okay, at this time, anybody from the public who'd like to come forward and give any kind of comments for or against this application? Again, please just state your name and address for the record.
I'm Susan Knowles, and I live at 7171 White Gates Place. I'm directly behind where they are building their home. My husband wasn't able to attend this evening, but he is the president of our small HOA, and we discussed it with all of the members of our HOA, and they were all in approval and were okay with us doing with them having the pool cover instead of a fence. Also, the back part of their home, you know, you'll see it's an L shape that covers the back part is all wooded, and there's a creek in between there. So that part is pretty much a natural buffer already. So, and like I said, the one neighbor that is the closest, he's been okay with that as well. I just wanted to let you know that everyone had been spoken to personally and has approved it. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Anybody else from the public? And Mr. Coons, you already mentioned they received some feedback, but all positive feedback on this, so. Okay, do I hear a motion to close the public for comments?
I so move.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell?
Yes.
Okay, at this time, I think we can discuss this case, and then we'll go through our findings of facts. Just a couple things. I know it sounds like, it does sound like they have discussed this with all the neighbors. Everybody seems, there has been no complaints, no issues with this being a possibility. It kind of has their approval. So that would definitely be a positive for this. And I just want to make a note, obviously, we've had these cases before. We've approved them, we've not approved them, we've had them both ways. So it's definitely, this is case by case. So we'll keep it separate from any others that we've approved or not approved. My only one concern was how close the house might be behind, like kind of directly behind that 70 feet. It's luckily, it's not, I mean, this is a bigger it is 2 acres, so it's not like we're talking about a small lot. But I guess that would be my only concern, is just making sure if this does get approved, I do like the recommendation of the landscaping barrier, because I did notice there doesn't look like there's any kind of natural barrier between those two homes back there. And probably, it's a new build, there's not going to be much out there yet. They won't have much landscaping until they build it. A couple other things just to note, if we do approve it, looking back at past ones that we've approved, as far as conditions, we have the condition of it must meet the pool cover safety specifications of, then there's a certain criteria of there's a specific specification of this ASTM F113, F1346-91. It needs to meet those specifications based on pool safety guidelines. And also that it must be closed at all times. The pool cover must be closed at all times whenever the pool is not in use by the property owner. So those 2 conditions are ones we've always used. If we do approve these, so we definitely want to add those. And then I would say the third condition would be the landscaping barriers. So if we decide to approve it, I would definitely recommend those 3 conditions be added to it. That's my thoughts as far as if we approve it. Any other thoughts from board or other things we need to discuss? Any concerns about this one? I understand the idea of the fence, being in, this is, these are not the easiest ones, just because it makes sense from a cost-wise perspective for the homeowner to not have it. But again, this is one of the bigger lots. A 2-acre lot. It's kind of in the middle, I guess. It's not like they're secluded where it makes it very easy to say yes, no problem.
Yeah.
But it's not small either.
I think you're right about that, Ms. Weeks. I know that in a more densely populated residential area, we've had one that was in here, and we've had quite a discussion about that, especially when it came to screening. However, in this particular case, on a 2-acre lot, it falls comfortably within the range of the ones that we have approved in this area. It is an RCD area, which is conducive to having a pool. Having woods in the back, as was testified to, would help. Being screened on 2 sides already by the house, again, provides some screening, especially from the street, which I think is a good thing as well. I think if the applicant could work with staff to put an appropriate buffer around there, a screening buffer, if you will, with vegetation, that would be good, especially with the type of planting that would try to discourage people from breaking through there anyway. So I think this is I'm pretty comfortable with this.
Yeah, I would say my biggest thing, I'm comfortable because their homeowners association has met, and all of the homeowners are in agreement that they would be okay with this. I think for me that, I see that as, they're the ones who have to live right by it. So if they're comfortable with it, then with these conditions, I would be comfortable.
I agree.
Okay, let's go through the findings of facts. Okay, so basically, we're just going to go through these findings of facts. We'll discuss the case based on each condition, each item. Okay, so number one, special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, and which are not applicable to any other land, structure, or building within the same zoning district. Yes, I mean, I agree. We've kind of discussed, that it's a 2-acre lot, so it does sit on a larger lot. It's in the SCD zoning district. I don't know, that's kind of where, and
Yeah, the projected placement of the pool is going to be naturally screened by the house itself, which I think is a good thing there too, when it comes to the actual land and topography. Sometimes people would want to move those pools out quite a distance from the house, and in this particular case, I think it's the way it's been presented. It's as tight as can be, which is probably a good thing.
agree. Okay, number two, a literal interpretation of the planning and zoning code would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other property owners in the same zoning district under the same provisions of the planning and zoning code. As it was kind of brought up by the applicant, she was aware of this because of another property fairly nearby that has the same variance to go ahead and that they just have the pool cover. So, allowing them to do this would help them enjoy their property more without.
I think we're being consistent with our rulings.
Okay, number three, the special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. We can't disagree on this just because they're building the home and they need to, it wasn't pre-existing, but that doesn't preclude us from having to not approve this, so.
I agree.
Agree.
Number four, granting the variance requested will provide the minimum necessary relief to alleviate the practical difficulties the applicant is experiencing. Agree, like we've said, landscaping will be a lot easier than a fence as buffering for the condition, so I would agree on this.
I do agree.
Agree as well.
Number five, granting the variance will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the planning and zoning code and will not cause damage or harm to the neighborhood or otherwise be detrimental to public health, safety, and welfare. I do agree, just mostly from the standpoint that the homeowners association met and they all agree that this is, they are comfortable with this and rather than the fence. And it does still provide, there's obviously high safety standards for these pool covers, so there still is a degree of safety around them.
I agree. Plus, as stated, we're considering the additional screening, and then having an additional condition put on, as we have in the past, of making sure that the pool cover is closed would lend credence to the public safety as well.
Number six, the proposed variance will not constitute a change of zoning district, including a variation in use on the official zoning map. In no case shall the board approve a variance for use which is not a permitted use in the zoning district in which the land, structure, or building is located. Agreed, this does not change anything with the zoning districts. Number seven, other relevant factors that may assist the board in weighing and balancing the public and private benefits and harms to determine if the requested relief is necessary, with the exception that no nonconforming use of neighboring land, structures, or buildings in the same zoning district and no permitted or nonconforming use of land, structures, or buildings in any other zoning district shall be considered justification for approval of the requested variance.
Agreed.
Agree.
Agree.
Okay, so, based on the above, I do believe the application meets the standard for variance, listed in chapter 1141.07A4 of the City of Clayton Planning and Zoning Code. And when we make the motion, let's make it with, I would say the 3 conditions I outlined earlier. Do I hear any other conditions you guys, we need to add to that? I'm good with the, okay. Do I hear a motion? And then when you make the motion, do you want to state all of the conditions?
Yeah, I move that we approve variance VAR 23-7 for an automatic pool cover at 7151 White Gates Place, with the following conditions. Condition 1, that the applicant work with staff at the City of Clayton to provide appropriate screening of 4-foot height vegetation around the open areas that are not bounded by the house. Condition 2, that the cover itself does adhere to specifications of ASTM F134691. Thank you. And condition 3, that the pool cover be closed at all times when the pool is not actively in use or being used. And if you're going to be leaving, close the cover, just like your garage door.
I'll second.
Roll call. Ms. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
And Ms. Caldwell?
Yes.
Congratulations, your variance has been approved. Okay, we're gonna go on to our second variance request this evening. It is VAR 23-08 at 10511 Haber Road. It is a request for a variance to section 1121.02.c of the Clayton zoning code, specifically requesting a 64-foot by 40-foot, or 2,560 square feet, accessory structure or pole barn be placed on the property located at 10511 Haber Road. The request was made by Larry and Dana Erbaugh, the property owners. And turn over to staff.
Thank you, Chairperson Weeks. As you indicated, this is application variance 23-08. Property address is 10511 Haber Road, and the applicants are Larry and Dana Erbaugh. This is an accessory structure variance request. Staff did receive the variance request on October 9th of this year. The application request specifically is for a 40 by 64, which is a 2,560 square foot accessory structure to be located in the rear yard of the property in question. Public notice was placed in a local newspaper on October 25th, and letters to surrounding property owners within 300 feet of the subject property were postmarked October 18th. Parcel ID is M60-03006-0083. The area of the property in question is 2.708 acres, and the property is zoned Rural Conservation District, RCD 1. This is the property in question. This is Haber Road, right along through here. This is the primary structure. There is an accessory structure presently located on the back. This is the surrounding property uses. As you can see, they are RCD1. The property just to the north of them is the Advent Christmas Tree Farm, which, and applicant, correct me if I'm wrong, takes up all this area through here. They're RCD2, then they're RCD1, then you have some RSD, which is the single-family residential district. So They're surrounded by Rural Conservation District to the east of them, to the north of them, to the south of them, and then they have some single-family catty corner and up the street on Haber. So the applicant, they have proposed constructing a pole barn in the rear yard area of the property, specifically at 10511 Haber Road. We did previously indicate it is a 40 by 64 size structure, which does measure approximately 2,560 square feet. It will be used to store recreational vehicle equipment as well as property maintenance and gardening equipment at the property. The proposed structure will be 14 feet from the side property line and 306 feet from the rear property line, which are both in compliance with the setback requirements for accessory structures. Specifically, Section 1121.02C of the zoning code states that in subsection 6, that no accessory structure shall exceed 864 square feet except where a rear yard exceeds 20,000 square feet in area, which their property does. In this area, the size of the accessory structure may be increased by 5% of the rear yard area over 20,000 square feet. In any event, an accessory structure shall not exceed 1,800 square feet. So that is what the request is for. As I just mentioned, the property is located on the west side of Haber Road, just south of Advent Christmas Tree Farm, which is a Rural Conservation District 2 zone property. And if you go back to the aerial view, you can actually see several accessory structures at the farm that are very large accessory structures that are located just to the north of them. And I think that plays a role in terms of the character of the surrounding properties. The immediate surrounding zoning districts we've touched on are the RCD and the RSD zoning districts. The proposed structure will, as previously said, store recreational vehicles. The proposed building will be in an area of the city where large accessory buildings are common, and this will be consistent with surrounding properties with similar uses. This is the property in question. On the left-hand side is an aerial view of the property. On the right-hand side is a site plan. As you can see, the accessory structure will be located behind the house, unless I'm wrong with that, but I believe it's located behind the house. And it will meet the setback requirements, as I indicated. After evaluating the applicant's request, staff recommends that the BZA approve the requested variance, considering the following facts: that the applicant's property is located in a rural conservation district. It's almost 3 acres in size. Every side of the property is surrounded by properties in the rural conservation districts, with the Advent Christmas Tree Farm directly to the north, and they have accessory structures that are very large in size already. We believe that the proposed structure fits into the fabric and the character of this particular area. And that is all I have. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So it's the size of the building that is
Correct.
the need for the variance.
Yes,
Maximum building should be 1,800 square feet, but this one is about 2,600 square feet.
correct.
Just checking my math.
Yes. And you can see, so the accessory structure will be located right here.
Jack, with the placement of it, I assume that they're on a septic system.
I believe all the properties out there are on septic and well.
Does this interfere in any way with either the primary or the backup septic field?
That's a good question for the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Any comments from the neighbors?
We have heard zero comments from the neighbors, either in support or against.
Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
thank you.
Okay, the applicant would like to come up and give any additional information, or just state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, I'm Larry Erball, 10511 Haber Road.
Question, want to go ahead and give our questions to-
Question about the leach field?
about the septic?
Yes, sir. I was just kind of curious about the placement of it.
Yeah,
And
not
whether-
involved, far away from our leach field.
So the leach fields are further out.
But that's close, actually, the leach field's closer to the residents. The accessory structure's gonna be farther away.
Okay, thank you very much.
And if it helps at all, our color scheme is going to coordinate with Advent Christmas Tree Farms.
Good to know, thank you. So it's all going to be very cohesive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're friends with Scott and Trudy, and they're totally in favor of our building.
Okay, it's good to know.
I'm confused with the other applicant, that application, not the pool covered, the other one that we had. So you're gonna be using this to store recreational vehicles, using them inside and having them stored outside, which you currently have, I assume, and then, also your home and, landscaping equipment, to maintain your property and that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, do I hear a motion to open it for public comment?
Also move.
Roll call.
Ms. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Hunter? Ms. Caldwell?
Yes.
Okay, I don't believe we have any, do we have anybody else from the public? I don't believe we do. And then we had no, just for the record, we had no comments come into staff from the public. Okay, all right, do I hear a motion to close the public floor for comments?
Also move.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Hunter? Ms. Caldwell?
Yes.
Okay, so do we have anything we need to discuss, or go ahead and go through the findings of facts? Anybody have anything?
My only thoughts are that it's like quite a big building, but considering the circumstances of where it is and how there's lots of other big buildings nearby, I don't think it really, it doesn't concern me in this.
I would agree, especially with the Advent tree, the tree farm right just to the north, and literally to the north of this property, and it's going to be, the building will be cohesive with the buildings on that property. It will fit in perfectly fine with, I don't see any concerns. I would agree, because sometimes we say that with the variance, that was just a little bit of an increase over the variance. This is pretty substantial, however, given these circumstances, I would agree with all of that. So,
And as it was pointed out by staff, it's very consistent with the surrounding property uses. So, it's not going to interfere with the flavor of the neighborhood and the actual usage that are in effect right now around them.
agreed. Okay, let's go through the findings of facts then. Okay, so we will start with number 1. Special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, and building involved, and which are not applicable to any other land, structure, or building within the same zoning district. And yes, we just did discuss how it is right next to a Christmas tree farm, and that the buildings will be cohesive with the buildings for that land, so it's in harmony with the neighborhood. Number 2. A literal interpretation of the planning and zoning code would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other property owners in the same zoning district under the same provisions of the planning and zoning code. Yes, again, this is very similar, allowing them to have this allows them to enjoy their property just as others in that same area. And again, it's cohesive with what's around it.
Agreed.
Number 3, the special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. Again, I think this is one we can disagree on, because it is based on, they want the larger building for their items to be in storage, so we can disagree, but I don't believe this would preclude it from being approved.
I totally agree. The size of the lot's 2.7 acres, and even though we're increasing the size of the square footage by 700 square feet, it won't be an abnormal, it won't look abnormally or be out of style, I think, with the surrounding areas.
Agreed. Number 4, granting the variance requested will provide the minimum necessary relief to alleviate the practical difficulties the applicant is experiencing. And I would agree, it's in the application, we discussed it briefly. This is to help bring all of their equipment inside rather than being outside, which honestly looks nicer than having a bunch of things sitting outside. So I would agree with this one. Number 5, granting the variance will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the Planning and Zoning Code and will not cause damage or harm to the neighborhood or otherwise be detrimental to public health, safety, and welfare. Agreed, there is no public health, safety, or welfare issues with this. It is simply a building that's bigger, and it is in harmony with the Planning Code. You know, they can use this property similar to other properties around them.
Agreed, and it's not going to be interfering with utilities such as septic.
Number 6, the proposed variance will not constitute a change of zoning district, including a variation in use on the official zoning map. In no case shall the board approve a variance for a use which is not a permitted use in the zoning district in which the land, structure, or building is located. Agreed. And number 7, other relevant factors that may assist the board in weighing and balancing the public and private benefits and harms to determine if the requested relief is necessary, with the exception that no nonconforming use of neighboring lands, structures, or buildings in the same zoning district, and no permitted or nonconforming use of land, structures, or buildings in any other zoning district shall be considered justification for approval of the requested variance. Agree with this. So I think we've gone through pretty much all of the different factors as to why we would approve this. Okay, so based on this, I do believe that it meets the standard for variance listed in Chapter 1141.07A4 of the City of Clayton Planning and Zoning Code. Do I hear a motion for this variance?
I'll move to approve variance 23-08, specifically a request for a variance to section 1121.02.c of the Clayton zoning code, requesting a 64-foot by 40-foot accessory structure to be placed on the property located at 10511 Haber Road as submitted.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, roll call.
Ms. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Hunter?
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell?
Yes.
Okay, congratulations. Your variance has been requested. Okay, so we had one other variance this evening, and that was, I think we should table it, if anybody, that was variance 23-06. Do I hear a motion to table that?
Yeah, I move we table variance 2306, request for variance to section 112102C, the Clayton zoning code, specifically requesting a 40 by 80 accessory structure pole barn be placed at the front yard of the property located at 5074 North County Line Road due to the applicant not being present.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Ms. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Hunter?
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell?
Yes.
Okay, so that takes care of all the new business. Do we have anything for the next meeting besides possibly the item we just tabled?
I would assume that we're going to have this case at the next meeting. I'll be reaching out to the applicant tomorrow, and as soon as I hear back from him, I will let you guys know.
Great.
Anything else?
Not for you guys. I don't think I have anything for you guys. I say that, and I could be forgetting about something, but I don't believe so.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great evening.